Hey everyone, good morning. Where are you joining us from? My name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. It's another Saturday and it's naked at sunrise o'clock. How time flies. It was just a blink of an eye since the last time we were here, and we're here again today. As you come in, please do me a favor. Um, Identify yourself in the comments where you're joining us from. I'd like for you to share quickly to your network and tell them Naked at Sunrise conversation is on again. Please join us, and please tell us where you're joining us from. I don't know if I said that earlier. Today we are not a repeat. Yes, we have a repeat guest, but not a repeat conversation. We are hosting again. And Professor Joy Onyeso, who was here last month and started to tell us her stories and her journey, or share with us her journey. And today we are moving forward. It's a continuation because if you remember, we didn't quite land that conversation where we should have landed it the last time. And that's why we asked her to come back. And so we're just going to finish that conversation. I'm excited to see you all this Saturday before the Roth prophetic conference. Oh my God, my heart is here, and I'm hoping, I'm praying, and I'm trusting God that by this time on Saturday, I will truly just be in the element of the Roth prophetic conference. Have you gotten your mustard outfit yet? Have you made all your arrangements to be able to join us for that conference? It is going to be powerful, starting on the 17th of July through to the 19th of July. What a month we are going to have. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's time for me to bring our guest in, even as I begin to welcome all of you who have joined us, and beg you, please ask your brothers and sisters to join us. So I want to say thank you to my producer Nene, who is always, always, always ready to help us get this done. Nene, see, thumbs up for you. God bless you. Hey, Prof, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Good morning, Pastor Bidemi. So nice to be here. Thank you.
Good to have you again. My brother-in-law who lives in the UK watched the last episode and he said, "Oh my God, I can't wait." Of all the things that I do, Naked at Sunrise is his absolute pre- um, favorite, and he doesn't joke with it. So he was telling me by Wednesday, said, "I can't wait to hear what you will do at Naked at Sunrise the next time." So welcome, welcome, welcome. How has it been since the last time you came here? Hi,
Woo.
Abelsi, God bless you. Mommy Mojishola, good morning. God bless you. Already, God bless you. I see you. God bless you. Please share, please like. God bless you. Tell me, how's it been?
Oh my goodness. It's been a bit crazy. Last time I was here, I was actually in the middle of a program way out of home. And if you notice, my voice was actually lost, but I struggled through it all. And it's just been back to back. But I'm so grateful to be back home. A lot has happened. I didn't even know I would be here this morning, but the grace of God found me and I'm right. And I'm super excited to share and to also listen. Yeah.
Okay, so before we came in, I was saying we came to the front of the studio. I was saying to you that you look all poppy and a bit relaxed. I'm now orangey and tensed up the middle of everything coming. But we are grateful to God that He finds us useful. I asked you
Yes.
about Daisy, and you said that Daisy is doing well, and not too long from now you go and see her. So welcome. Tell us, the last time you came, you were telling us about how Daisy had this condition where her bones would just be popping and breaking by themselves, and
Mm.
I'm just going to give the highlights. I remember that one of the highlights for me was that that's how you found faith and you found God. I remember
Mm.
also that it was a day you got to the end of your rope and you said, "Lord, if you can't do it, then I'm done. I don't know what else to do." And from that point on, God, the story turned around and it became something that you were managing and in control of, and the enemy was no longer calling the shots. I remember that in that process, process. Someday, even a Daisy got to the point and she said, I'm not doing this anymore. And it just looked like it was one decision after another decision after another decision, and God has been faithful. So tell us, what else is there to know that we did not know? We heard a lot of heavy things, and we're
Mm.
grateful for your household. But if I'm sure we have so much more to learn from you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Honestly, this morning I was saying, Father, lead me in the part of conversation you want me to put out here this morning. And I heard mercy, speak of my mercy, speak on process. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to go back to the last few months of our lives, right? A lot, it seemed like it's just a few months, but really it feels like years of activities happening. I talked about last time I spoke on how she had gained admission into the university, studying her first year right now, but I didn't talk about the process. Now, one of the things that struck me during that time of trying to apply for her visa to get into Canada, and also was we initially were saying, oh, how do we get to Canada? We may go through UK. I was looking for the cheapest route to get to Canada, right? And I put in the application for her UK visa, put in the application for her Canada visa, and all of that. One morning, I just finished praying. I was in that mood of reflection. And this was like weeks after I put in the application. And I heard clearly, I heard, we were waiting because we knew it was at that time we'd get a decision. And I heard clearly, you did not follow our pattern. And I was wondering,
Hmm.
what is that pattern? He said, the pattern we have is at every point of making any major decision, when you put it in visa inclusive, there is the back end bit of praying, waiting, that you got to comfortable. You know how and in fact, it just dawned on me. I just felt like we've been doing this visa thing. She's well traveled. What can go wrong? Let me tell you the first shock I got. UK rejected her visa. Do you know what they wrote there? They said there is no strong evidence that you are her mother.
What?
So yes. So that one hit me like I did see it from the face. Like I said, wow. I had submitted everything, records of her birth certificate, and all that. So what else do I need to submit to show that I'm her mother? And I'm like, Jesus. So I stepped back. I now told her, I said, see what they said. She said, crying. She said, which one is that you're not my mother? Okay, what story is that? I'm like, that's what they said. I said, no, I'm not going to apply again. Let's wait. The decision on the Canada visa would come out soon. That came out like 3 or 4 days later, and boom, she was also rejected. That was when I
Ooh.
knew there was a problem. So I came back crying to God. I said, I'm so sorry. Now I understand what you're talking about. I felt so confident. We've been doing this visa thing, no problem. She's well traveled. I'm well traveled. I can't remember the last time I got a no in any visa application. So, and I got that revelation. It's not about the money, it's not about the experience, it's about the grace. When God is involved in a process and He has a pattern with you, you just have to go through that. Obedience is key. I said it last time.
Please,
And
let me interrupt you because
yeah,
I don't want this to be lost on someone. Because truly, we get really comfortable and then we begin to act like we are the God in the
yes.
equation. We have a pattern already. We step out of that pattern because we think, oh no, I've always got, God has done it many times. So God is obligated to do it
Uh-huh.
another time.
That's
And
it.
sometimes you just told us again now that that's not the process. That's not, because here's the thing about relationship, especially with
Mm,
God. It is about leaning on Him 24/7.
mm,
It is about leaning on Him 24/7 in the big things and in the smallest things. I think
mm,
after we get comfortable in this rhyme and rhythm that we have with God, sometimes we get to the point and we don't bother with those things anymore. We now come with the big projects and the little projects in our head are walkovers. I like how God humbles us like this because He will help you see that it's not by might, it's not by power, it's by my spirit, saith the
yes.
Lord. I hope someone did not miss that. I hope someone got that. Please continue.
Yes, and that for me was also a learning curve. I was like,
Mm,
wow, honestly, I had gotten too comfortable and I took it for granted. I took my relationship with God for granted. I took a lot of things. I just thought this is too minute. Like we'll just go in and out. And I just went on a repentance journey and I called my daughter. I said, you know what? There was a number of things I was supposed to do. I did not do. She said, what? I said, usually I would pray, I would ask for direction and favor, and I didn't do that. So let me take some time out. I'm going to, she was like, time. I said, we have enough time. That God is redeemer of time. Now, I did know this process also instilled a little bit of fear in her. Will it work? Will it not work? And so when I
mm,
put in, I decided not to go the route of UK again because of the time we had left. Let me just focus on getting the Canada visa, which is what she needed at that point in time. And we put it in. I remember one night we were praying and she said to me, Mom, are you sure God will answer this prayer? I
oh,
said, why?
wow.
Why wouldn't he answer? And she referenced something. I can't remember what it was that happened we prayed about in that period and it didn't work. So I went back to my room, we said our good night, and I became troubled in my spirit. I said, Father, this is not about me now, it's about your name. Now there
Mm,
is doubt in her spirit whether you would answer this or not. And we know that she doesn't have any other alternative out of this for now because of the inclusive education we need. This,
mm,
and I'm even done trying to fix things. This, I've handed it over to you. You make it work, because if it doesn't, you see, this one is going to be difficult to convince her that you do answer prayer. At this point, the devil sometimes it will make you forget a lot of things God has done for you. So all of a sudden she forgot all the things God has done, is asking me if God would answer this one. That one hit me. And we kept on praying, and lo and behold, it came to pass. Her visa came out, and we were super excited. And I turned to her, I said, Mama, you see, God answers prayer. She said, yes, He does. Now, we fast forward to the traveling in January. We traveled. I couldn't go with them. I had to ask my second son to travel with my daughter, and a whole lot of things happened in that trip. I was asking God
mm.
why her wheelchair got missing, a whole lot of things. And He said to me, you're taking a lot for granted. This is a new season. She's in a new season. She's 18 plus, heading to 19. She's come of age. She's entering a new season. And then a relationship has to be strengthened. So this
Oh,
is not
wow.
just between you being the covering over her. I need her to rediscover me for herself and learn how to walk with me. So
Mm,
I told her, I said, Mama, see what is happening. You're always calling me, Mommy, pray, Mommy, pray. You have to start doing the prayer too. So but you can call me to say, oh, Mom, join me in prayer, but don't put all the burden on me, oh, Mommy, pray, and expect me to be praying. That we're not in that season again. That my caretaker role of you over you has ended, and now I'm handing you completely into the care of God. You have to learn how to walk that journey. And the way God works with me may be different from the way He'll walk with you. So you need to start discovering that. I've discovered my own part. You need to discover your own part. I got into Canada. A week after I got into Canada, in fact, she had already settled in and all of that. For her to even come and see me was a problem with hotel. She was like, but for me, big girl, I knew one of my major fears had been allayed, right? Then the enemy struck. Just as we're taking her back to school on Sunday, I don't know how it happened. The vehicle hit a bump. I know she just had a spinal surgery and she wasn't on her wheelchair, her proper wheelchair, because we were still waiting for the airline to get it, right? So as the vehicle hit that bump, I just saw ourselves flying up in the air, saw my daughter in the air, and then we smashed down. I started shouting, Jesus. I looked behind, my daughter was holding her chest and she was gasping. I was just shouting, Jesus. I was confused. It was my second son that told the guy, stop, stop, stop. He ran out because she was behind, the wheelchair van. Then we heard this very shrill screaming. She started crying. Woo! We got to the hostel, tried to get to the medical center. It was a Sunday. They said we have to call 911. You know, my daughter said no, she feels she will take medication and she'll be fine. We said, okay, we have to go back to the hotel. I can't leave you here alone. And that was when another journey of 2 weeks started. We got back, we called the doctor, said she had to come in for an x-ray. We went in for the x-ray to check the spine and check all that. They said it was fine. But after that, it's fine. Like, it's fine. Another level of pain set in. She could not stand up, she could not walk, she could not do anything. She was just on the bed in pain for 2 weeks. No class, no nothing. Nothing. So those 2 weeks were another time of exposition for me. I was like, oh, what is really happening? And then it occurred to me that, the pathway doesn't mean it has to be rosy. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It doesn't mean anything. It's just that the enemy will never give up. The enemy just doesn't give up. And so I said, I got to relax. I got to I was so, overjoyed and excited that I was not spiritually alert. That, when you're entering a new season, a lot of things is a new phase, is a new journey.
You can see my mouth is just open and I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you like that because these are the things I preach every time. There's something I want to quickly, two things I want to highlight so that our listeners and our viewers can understand. Number one, it is that everyone must forge their relationship with God. As parents, we can't become the mediators of our children's relationship with God. It reminds me of when I took my son off to the UK the first time to do his A levels, and he was fine up till the end of the first year, and then he was not fine. He started to struggle big time. And I remember that one day, I didn't even know my husband was having that same conversation with God at the time. And the conversation was just simple. I'm going to go and bring KK back. Because I really don't care for a graduate son, really. I just want my son back. And God said to us, individually, said to my husband and said to me, he said, he's my son. He's my son. He's not my grandson. Let me work it out with him. Stop meddling in our relationship. I remember that clearly. So for parents who are helicopter parents, that you can't breathe if your child can't breathe, here's the point that we're making. You need to learn. And it's not even just in a parent, sometimes it's in a spousal relationship. Any relationship that you become the mediator, and the mediator is not Jesus. Something is, you need to begin to learn to take your hands off these things. That's number one. The second thing that I want to talk about, I want to highlight, is that after every victory, when the devil knows that we're vulnerable. We are vulnerable most after every major victory. Like you were telling me about your week so far. You just finished all the programs. In your head, you're like, finally, let me rest. But years ago, God told me that the moment you finish a victory, be on the alert. Because what most believers do is right after a victory, we relax, we recoil, we're dancing, we're eating caviar, we're just having fun. And the enemy sees all the ways that he can come in. Boom! That's when he attacks the most. So if you're here today, here's another thing that I want you to know. If you are in the process of warfare now, because when you're in warfare, you pray, you pray, you pray, you pray, you cry, you pray, you cry, you pray, you feed, so feed, you do everything. But after victory, you recoil. You're like, let me rest. We don't rest as believers. We don't rest after victory. It is the time to be on the alert. I had to teach my staff that after we finish a conference like Roth, don't go to your corner. That's when we hold hands and we begin to hug. Don't begin to visit your boyfriend. It's not the time to get into nonsense. Because anything you do right after a victory, the enemy can capitalize on it and floor you. So I want us to see those 2 points because I don't want us to miss it. Prof, continue. I had to just interject.
Yes, thank you so much. In fact, I've picked out a number of lessons from what you just said, because that was what happened to me. I felt we've arrived, the major battle has been won all the years, and now we're here, boom. And this happened for 2 good weeks. It was just something else, emotional and all that, because I was like, okay, nothing has been seen. So what do we do? So it was just a lot. It was just a lot of pain. But we now started praying. My sister Goze would call every day and we would agree. It was like it became, we say, oh, this one is a battle. The enemy has really come. And then I have a program, which I said last time, this Broken But Remolded is an annual program, and it happens in March. I needed to go home, get ready, and then prepare for the program because it spans a month because I move from location to location. I was like, God, how do I even do this? Even a week before then, I had a program with my mentees, a retreat. How do I even do this with her just lying? I can't leave her in this state. As I just said to God, I said, you know what? Perhaps you're trying to tell me that all this I do is not important. So if that's what you're saying, that's fine. But if this is another way to, make me realize that this is something, the ministry you've put in my hands, then I'm grateful. I know you will make a way. And that was how I left it. It was as if it was magic. Like I was already preparing to, um, extend my tickets. But my son kept saying, let's hold on a little bit. And then I saw she started, we could stand up with pain and all of that. I said, fine. And then finally we were able to come back. Valentine's Day, we had spent as a family. And then I came back and, I had a beautiful time with my mentees, had the Broken But Remolded retreats. Now, this is something else that happened. For me as well, it was coming into another season because this was the first time I had two of my kids. I have three kids, two of them out of my nest. I have an empty nest. Now, only one in Nigeria, two out of the country. I didn't prepare for this season. I didn't prepare for the emotions. I didn't prepare for the time it would take. I didn't prepare for the journey itself. So it felt as if I was so drained and overwhelmed. By the time, by the time I finished Broken But Reborn at the end of March, I was drained. I was so exhausted. I felt depleted. I began to even question myself because it is a new season. It felt as if I was being pulled in different directions, and I kept asking, "Oh, what is all of this? I don't even understand this anymore." I felt I was doing a lot of prayer requests. This helicopter parenting you're talking about. So it felt to me I had to be everywhere, and I'm like, I had to be in US, I had to be in Canada, I had to be in Nigeria parenting. I'm like, what is all of this? I didn't prepare for all of this. It wasn't as simple as I had thought about it in my head. So now it wasn't just for me, just a daisy. It was a daisy and the impact of her leaving home on the family. Because I had to think about how would she be settled in? Who would be? I can't be the first respondent again. I'm in Nigeria. So we had to work it out that there has to be another respondent, which is my second son. Now, I also have to think about the impact on his life, his dream, and all of that. That took a toll on me emotionally. Now, I got an instruction before concluding Broken or Remolded Nigeria, and it was like there's this potter's house I had. He said, make sure you build the fence of that potter house before leaving. But let me backtrack a little bit on something else that happened. The Broken But Remolded program is anchored on my experience with nurturing a daisy and how God brought us through. Now, one of the things I noticed was the first session, I think it was in Lagos, yeah. Well, after giving the testimony of what God has done for us, at the end of the program, there'll be a major incident with Daisy. I didn't see that pattern. I didn't know it was a pattern for me. The next one we had in Calabar, the same thing happened. I said, what's going on here? I called my sister because my bride Sagoze is my covenant sister. We do a lot of agreement prayers together. I said, see, and then I was praying, and this is what God told me, that I'm taking a whole lot for granted. The same thing I got in January, that there's a new season here. What used to work cannot work again. There has to be a change, and I have to be sensitive to the change in the pattern. So I just can't assume that it's the same as it has always been. No, a lot has shifted and a lot has changed. And I need to understand how he now wants me to work with him. And he gave me clear instruction. Each time you're going on the stage to talk about a daisy or whatever, you need to come back to me in prayer first, specifically committing her to my hands before giving that testimony, because the battle will come after it. And that was how that pattern was broken. Because at some point I got apprehensive talking about her. I was like, when I talk, something will happen. You know how the enemy will put things in your head, and if you're not careful, you sit with it, you nurture it, it becomes a negative pattern. But thankfully, God gave me the presence of mind and the grace, and I was able to break that evil pattern that wanted to form. Like, why can't I talk about the goodness of God? You know.
See, I'd like to interject. What you're just showing us this morning, because it looks like part one was the highlights, and all of us were, oh, here's where the real learning is. The backstage things that happen when you walk with God, the things that people don't see, the things that sometimes even you are not conscious of.
Mm,
But you talked about a presence of mind, the capacity to never, working with God is, you can't just imagine that, okay, I said good night to God yesterday. Even this morning when I woke up, I said good morning, so it's okay.
mm,
No wonder it is, for instance, pray without ceasing. There is a presence of mind. There is a need to be able to hear God for yourself, to be able to discern his voice, know his voice. If I had a statement to describe what you've been describing to us or you've been telling us, it is that relationships with God are personal and they're
mm,
ongoing.
mm.
They are personal and they are ongoing. I mean, how many times would you have called your pastor to talk to him about these things? If Gozier was not your friend, if she was just your pastor, how many times, even if she wasn't called, she didn't complain, you would feel like, I see every time I'll be calling my pastor.
Yeah.
And that's why you see this Christianity, if you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you want to do it, settle down. Know your own pattern. Because look at, when we see you, we just hear it. Because even when you come for broken and remolded, that's not the place where you talk about these things. You just share how good God is. We all clap for you. We're excited. And, we want to be you without a daisy in the mix, because that's what
Yeah.
usually happens. We choose all the highlights and we leave them. It is such a powerful conversation I feel we're having right now, to be able to show us that, which is really the thing that backgrounds Naked at Sunrise. Naked at Sunrise, I haven't said that in a while. It's taken out of Genesis, Genesis, I think 30, 32, 31 or 31, 32, where it says that I was talking about Joseph,
Mm,
Jacob. And the sun rose upon him and he walked away with a limp. When Jacob wrestled with the angel after, he had that encounter with God on his way to meet his uncle Laban when he was running away from his brother. When you have those kinds of encounters and then you wake up and you say, God was in this place and I did not know it. You come to a fresh understanding. But more importantly, that you can walk with God and still the sun can rise upon you even though you are limping. Because in that wrestle with the angel that Jacob had, he pulled his hip out of the socket. And from that point on, Jacob, now Israel, has started to limp. But the Bible said, even as he limped away, the sun rose upon him.
mm,
That both the sun and a limb can be a present
mm,
reality in the life of a believer. That's why we have it Naked at Sunrise. Because
mm,
to be someone who was full-bodied and it was in an encounter with God that you will now limp. Every other believer or Christian churchgoers will think you can't have been walking with God and you say God is the one that broke your leg, because effectively that
mm,
was what. How can you
mm.
be the one that broke your leg? Maybe you fought with the devil. But no, it was God he had an encounter with. It was God that pulled his out of the socket. And then the same God now put a sun over him and said, you know what? The sun will rise upon you anyway. But this limp will make you remember that you cannot do anything by yourself anymore. From now on, if you would achieve anything with your life, you have to come back to me first. Why?
Mm,
Because you need to be very independent minded, which was who Jacob was. He had strategies for everything. He had strategies for everything. But if you have studied the life of Jacob, after that point on, every major conversation that he made, we don't see when, most of them we did not see when he spoke to God about them, but he would always testify. There was one he said to Rachel, God has told me that it is time for us to leave.
Yes.
No, so now he had a relationship that bothered on leaning on God rather than trying to run the race by himself. Brethren, this is my not share encouragement. You need not to try to run the race by yourself. That's what Prof has been telling us, and I don't want you to miss it. You cannot run this race by yourself. I know you are now a veteran in going with God, but you are just going with him. You are not him.
Mm.
You are not him. And so you have to find your rhythm of leaning on him. If you can still be surprised. Let's say it that way. You can still be
Yes.
surprised.
Yes. Yes.
You can still be surprised. Oh my God. Please
Yes.
go on.
Yes. I love this bit. I'll leverage on this. You can still be surprised because it's as if in this new season is in one surprise after this other surprise. I'm like, wow, I still have, when you think you've arrived, you've learned a lot. Nurturing a daughter with special needs for 19 years, you just feel you're now a veteran. Oh, you know all that there is to, working with God, leaning in on him and trusting him for how he will lead you. You will find out that, and that's what happened to me, that, every day is new. Every day is new. And I've learned to ask him for the grace for every day because it's not the same thing. And so when I went through that phase, and I just didn't want to miss that because that was also a learning curve for me. That I don't have to operate like as I used to. I would have to very sensitive my spirit, ask him what I'm supposed to do, and not just take things for granted. So what that experience did for me is that it made me to become more conscious. I don't just jump into decisions even about her. I don't miss, oh, that's how we've been doing it. No. So each time she comes to me with something, I'll say, you know what, let me think about it. Now, that thinking about it is, let me pray about it. Let me be sure the direction we ought to go. Right. So down to choosing the number of courses for her to run, right? She was supposed to do she could do a minimum of 3, and I wanted to do 6. But somehow I had that lady, no, just leave it at that 3. And that was the saving grace we had because she missed a lot of lecture, being sick. So can you imagine if she was running 6 courses? It would have been difficult to catch up. And that would have impacted on her confidence level and a lot. Now, the second thing that happened again was that she had no roommate. So it's in the residence, it's 3 room, common area, kitchenette, and all that. Now, this is someone who hasn't stayed alone at all. So transiting from an environment where she's always been nurtured, she's always been protected, to a space where in a whole apartment, call it a flat. Imagine a 3-bedroom flat. That's what the image I want you to have was a 3-bedroom flat. And she's the only one, or she was the only one in that space. At first, it did not hit me until we left. Then the real struggle began, which she did not want to share with me because she wanted to feel like I can handle it. I can do it by myself. And it took, point of God's grace in trying to, when we now formed a pattern, our own pattern, where she has to check in with me in the morning once she wakes up. And then she has to check in with me in the evening. She has to check in with me before she goes to bed. So we had 3 points of checking in to be sure that she's okay. So if I don't get those check-in, I will know that there's something wrong. And I said, if you're too busy, just send me WhatsApp to say, Mom, I'm good and I'm okay. Now, it was in that process, one day she said to me, Mom, I'm just overwhelmed. What's happening? Do you want me to come? And then she started crying. I said, do you want me to come? I can come if you want me to come, right? She said, no, but I don't have a roommate. I'm the only one here. I have to clean. I have to do this. I have to do that. And this is someone that is not used to doing all of this at that same time. She had some form of support. And so I was thinking of, should I send my son or should I go? And the Holy Spirit said to me, step back. This is not yours. This is her own battle to figure out. She's on a journey. She's on a journey of, getting her independence from you and from the family. Let her figure out what works for her. She doesn't have to do it the way you have said she has to do it. Allow me to work out this with her. Otherwise, he reminded me, he said, "You've been praying to me that you want her to be independent. How will she be independent when you're always hovering around and always quick to bring solution? Let her figure out this solution herself." So I stepped back. It was so difficult watching her struggle. And one day she said to me, she said, "Mom, you know what? I'm not going to be the cafeteria because it was snowing. She couldn't go to the cafeteria all the time. Sometimes she didn't want to ride in the bus as well. So she said to me, Mom, I figured out what I would do. I will cook certain days. I'll eat." So she started figuring out things. So she was just bringing it to me, and I was just validating. And her other sense of problem solving, started, coming up, and she started working it out. Even to the extent of how she wash her clothes, do her laundry, do the cleaning. So she settled into that. She calmly settled into that. But it took a while up to the end of the semester when I went back. So I went back, at the end of the semester because she would need help to pack. Um, and when I saw the luggage, you know how you go with luggage. By the time you're ready to go back, you've accumulated maybe 3 or 4 times. So I said, Mama, I came alone. Oh, I'm not with your brother. I cannot do this. This is a lot. So let's look. So the school gave us the option of paying to keep our things in that same room, which was also another relief for us, right? And it was another lesson that sometimes you think you know everything. Sometimes you think things are set is in a certain way. But if you do not ask, you would not get a response. So we had to ask. I said, what's the worst case scenario? No. But let's ask. No, let's just ask because I don't see us doing all of this. And then I'm also thinking of you trying to settle into a new space again when you have already gotten used to moving around in this space. So this were the conversation. And they were like, oh yeah, it's doable. But we'll just have to move everything into her own room and pay for that space for 4 months and lock up because she's not coming back to September. And voila, it was done. And God said to me, sometimes we try to box him into certain things. We don't carry him along in very little things. We feel this thing is too little to get him involved in. And that was when I got another rema of Jeremiah 33:3. That call unto me and I will answer, and I will show you great things that you do not know. I've been reading that scripture and, yeah, I thought I understood it. But you see, the last couple of months, it became for me a 911. That's like a 911 passage, meaning that emergency time, normal time. So there are a lot of things I do not know. And I told my daughter, I said, so we've done this journey for 19 years and we think we know all of it. Now is a new season, everything is new, so we need to be asking. So he'll tell us things we do not know. Now came the problem of accommodation. Do I bring her back to Nigeria because she had 4 months, or do I take her to the US to stay with her brother? So if she has to stay in the US with her brother, it means we have to expand. We have to look for an inclusive accommodation and everything, and that is going to come at a cost. This is a young man just starting his life. That became another anxious moment for me. What kind of thing is this? Because it's like even expenses I did not think of. So the struggle to get the accommodation became real. Time was fast ticking when I would go back. We hadn't seen an accommodation yet. An inclusive accommodation where, accessible, where she could do things herself without leaning on the brother. And I felt sick in the midst of all of this because it became too much. I felt very sick. And in that midst, in being sick, it just dropped in my spirit. You've been trying to find accommodation. You don't think I need to get involved in this? Don't you think I need to get involved in this? Do you know? I started crying. I'm like, how long do you need to tell me this? I just feel like a baby since last year. Like it's as if I do not understand you again. Not realizing that you're teaching me how to work with you. I don't have to, I'm taking a lot. I felt so bad. I'm like, I thought I've gotten a grasp of these things. How did I even know I have to ask you? Just that night, I just said, Lord, I'm sorry. Please help me. The next morning, my son sent me a message from US. Mom, I've gotten two that I've been asked to look at. I'm going to see them. And less than 24 hours, the accommodation issue was solved. And I felt so bad. I said, how? I thought I would have learned from the visa issue. So why am I sharing this bit? Okay.
Let me interject again. Number one, when your seasons change, you must be aware that your seasons have changed. Because what I'm hearing is that patterns change as seasons change. Maybe not all of the patterns, but some patterns will most definitely change because your seasons have changed. And I don't find this surprising, because if you are in winter, in summer right now, my children in the UK, they're talking of almost heat strokes in
Yes.
summer. Just go back in November and it'll become all dreary, all kinds of things again. By December, you don't, I don't even want to be in the UK in December because of how wet and how drab and dreary it is in the weather. In those times, our clothing change, our footwear, they change.
Mm.
Even the hairstyles we do, all of those things change. Why can we see it in the physical and we cannot see that the spiritual actually controls the physical? So if the physical works like that, the spiritual even more so will work like that. So when your seasons change, when your children, you have 3 children and 2 of them were in boarding school before and the third one goes, your season has changed. When they
Mm.
go to and then they finish, they come back, you find that you are in another season. When I moved homes and I had still about maybe going on 6 weeks now, and I still haven't been able to really get my reading right. I'm not able to get my reading right. I like the fact that I moved homes. I like my new space, but I have the space to be able to do what I need to do, but I'm still struggling with the reading. So we have to know and be aware that our seasons, once they change, our patterns will change. That's number one. And then this one, I want even you, Prof, to know, and for the rest of us to be reminded, if we know it before, for instance, that we would never fully know anything. That's why the Bible says we know in part and we prophesy in part. That's why it is dangerous to stand and say, I know God. You,
Mm. Mm.
you, you know God. And that's why personally, I am quick to say, I don't know what I'm doing. People think it's helplessness. No, it's not helplessness. It is a vote of confidence in the one who holds my hands. There are many things I do not know. So I will tell you, I don't know what I'm doing. People will laugh at me and say, how can you say you don't know what you're doing? I say, if I knew what I was doing, I would be somewhere. I don't know what I'm doing because I have to keep going back daily and consistently to knock on the door to say, Lord, I'm here again. Oh, what are we doing today? Do not take for granted that you already know. Because even in everyday life, we're told that if you're not learning, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you are dying.
Mm.
If you're not learning, you are not growing. If you're not growing, you are dying. Why do we forget? This is the point. Let's not forget the spiritual determines what happens in the physical. So if you see a pattern in the physical in your life, go back and to God, and He will show you the spiritual principles that break those patterns in the physical. I wanted to highlight that so that our listeners will not take it for granted. And let me just say this as well before I let you continue. In all of this, Prof, you know something.
Mm.
I, I can't take this your template 100% and
Yes.
superimpose it on my life. It will not
Yes.
work.
Yes.
I think that God deliberately did that so that we will never be independent of Him.
Yes.
So that we will never be independent of Him. You can't take this now and say, I know how to do it. I know how God does it. Girl, that's a big lie. You don't know how God does it. You
Mm.
don't know, and you can never know. So just make sure that your relationship is consistent and is ongoing. That's the saving grace in all of this. Please continue.
Thank you. And that bit became another. In fact, I've just told myself, I said, Joy, you need to step back and become more sensitive to what God is doing. That He's also doing a lot of refining. You know, how we come to God the way we are, and He will not use us the way we are. And He keeps remolding us, remolding. For me, it's been a lesson of that remolding. That He can even decide that you're a teacup now. I'm done with using her as a teacup. I need to make her into a plate.
Will break you because he will use the same clay.
Ah, that's it.
Yes, it's the breaking we don't like.
Ah,
We don't mind to be transformed. We don't mind to
ah,
be transformed. Today you are a teacup, like you said, and tomorrow you are a tree. We don't mind that we have that 45 lives. The problem
ah,
is before you move from teacup to the tray or to the saucer, they will break you.
yes.
That breaking is what we don't like.
Ah. That has been for me the learning curve right now. Realizing that I'm in a new season, my family is in a new season, all my kids are adults, young adults right now, and they need to also forge their own relationship with God. So it is not me being mother hen again. It is me just guiding them into what they need to do. So that has been a struggle. To how you're used to saying, do it this way, pray. Oh yeah, now you have to step back and allow a number of things to happen. Now, one other thing I've noticed in this season is in my journey with Adeze is, through the seasons, I've been the one leading the process, leading the prayers, leading what needs to be done. But now it doesn't happen that way. So my first son, who is studying medicine, has become a major player in decision making in my daughter's life and all of that, without even my getting involved, right? Without my designing it to be so. So he's a medical student. Now he gets involved in, so when things happen, I'm not just the first person she runs to again. She calls him. So even after having discussions with me, will call him, have a discussion with him, and then he would also tell me, Mom, I need this to be done. I need you to try and do this. I need you to try and do that. So you see the role. So getting used to that role change too. I struggle with it a bit. You know how sometimes you feel as if are they telling me what to do?
Relevance. That you're losing relevance,
Exactly.
right?
Thank you. I dealt with that on some scale. I felt like, okay, what's happening here? Am I losing relevance? Am I, when I've been in charge, now I'm not in charge. So not just on the spiritual level, but even on the family level where everyone has a say how it's done. Yes. So I had to start adjusting to that bit too. Because when you say, Mom, I'm coming from a medical perspective, so she started having spasms. And this is so funny. When we talk about the spiritual controlling the physical, I see God doing a lot through my daughter with me and the family. Now, I talked about getting the instruction not to leave Nigeria without building that fence around the potter's house land. Yeah. So I had given it out. I was following up. After a while, I just like, it's almost done. So I didn't bother checking in with the engineer. I didn't even know. He was telling me, oh, the last time I spoke with him, he said, Madam, it's not much. Today is Friday. By Tuesday, I'll be done. I didn't check in to know if it was done by Tuesday. The only thing I noticed was that my daughter's the spasm that she used to have after that incident, after the accident, she started having a lot of spasms where it was this spasm, I'm telling you, so painful. She'll be crying, she will not be able to sleep for hours and all of that. And then later it calmed down. But I was surprised that it started again. This was so bad. Her head, her face, her ears, everywhere. The medications were not working. So one day she said to me, she said, Mom, this thing is spiritual. She said it in anger. She said, Mom, this is spiritual. And that was when it hit me. I'm like, how many times will things happen to me before I suddenly feel like a baby, like I'm getting to know things? Is that,
But it's
you know,
not what he wants. He wants us to come to him as children, not reactionarily, but preemptively. To say, Lord, ahead, not when it happened. But it will take this learning. It will take this, all of this. I called it a breaking a minute ago. for you to now build that pattern for yourself. You're building a muscle. It's bound to be like that.
Yeah, thanks for this. It's I've just been trying to make sense of it this whole season. And I went in prayer again. I'm like, what have I done this time around? I said, I gave you an instruction. You didn't even check to be sure it's done. It's not completed. And until it's completed, she's not going to have relief because her healing is tied to that. And because he had mentioned two other persons' healing that is tied to that instruction. I'm like, what concerns building of fence with people's, you know? So, oh my goodness.
It's a hedge.
Exactly. That's what he told me. He said it's a hedge. That was what he said. He said it's a hedge, it's a spiritual hedge. And I called him and I said, what? I'm transferring this thing to you. I've told you to do this thing. You don't want to do it. This meat, I'm not going to call you over this again. If you want to do it, do. If you don't want to, not do it. That this is God's house. God will handle it by himself. Do you know? Immediately I did that. I'm not kidding. Some of these things will look as if it's fairy tale. That spasm stopped. That crazy crying, shouting head, this one, that thing stopped.
Please wait. There's someone here, and that's your instruction. You have a sword hanging over your head because God is giving you an instruction and you are playing with it. You're playing with it. You started and you think, well, God knows I don't have it to finish it. Brethren, we are working with God. Stop looking at your journey by the journey of the next person. Your instructions are yours. If God tells you go and dance in the marketplace, you don't dance once and say, I finished dancing in the marketplace. You keep dancing in the marketplace. People think you are crazy until God says to you, I've had my fill of you dancing in the marketplace. I feel like by the Spirit of God that this person, she felt like, and is a she, that what God told her to do, that she's done it once or twice, it had to be enough. And God is saying, you are standing where you are because it's not enough yet. Whatever it is, you go back. You need to finish the course. God is the one that says to you, there are two ways to ascertain when an instruction's lifespan is over. Number one is when the thing is done to a conclusive end. Number two is when God says stop. If you've not arrived at the conclusion and there is nothing more to do, or God has not said stop, I'm borrowing you money now. In fact, I'm dashing you money. I'm not borrowing you. Professor Joy brought it and I've collected it and I'm putting it in your account. Go spend it. Take this thing and run with it until you hear stop from God or until you have ended the work or completed the work. You need to keep going because some things are up in the air for you right now because of that matter. Go on. I just let's
deep.
Yes.
Honestly,
Yes.
this is deep. And that spasm stopped. And it took her to say, Mom, angry mom, this is spiritual for me to connect. Right? And this is me otherwise who will say, oh, I'm very sensitive in spirit. But the last few months have stretched me, have made me recognize that, like you rightly said, we don't know God. We just have to keep being in the state of wanting to know. And then he keeps unveiling, just like we know in parts, right? And so what I've told myself, I was having a conversation with her. This is now to finalize the conversation. When I was having a conversation with her yesterday, we're just playing, she was saying, Mom, come early. I want to spend more time with you. Don't come in September. Come earlier. This is summer. Let's do. And it just dropped in my spirit, said, do you see you're in a new season in your relationship with her? It's not a dependent kind of relationship again. Yes, this is now kind of a friendship kind of relationship. This would not have happened if you kept
with their children.
Yes. So we have conversations. We're talking about housekeeping. Oh, do you have enough food? Okay, make the list. She tell me, no, don't worry, mommy, I'll handle it. I'll take it from my pocket money. You do this one. Don't worry about this one. I can cover this one from my pocket money. And I was just like, when I finished talking with her yesterday, tears literally were flowing down my cheek. And I'm like, God, I never saw this. I couldn't have imagined this.
So you are in the University of Daisy. Yes. You are in the University of Daisy because God is God's parable to you to teach you the things that enhance your relationship with Him.
That's it. That's just it. And I'm
Brethren,
so
I'm so excited by this second part, the way the second part of this conversation is gone. I'm excited with it because Prof obviously sat down, and that thing she forgets to do, she did it about this episode. She asked God, what should we talk about? And the beauty is she was not trying to tell us the front end of this story. She's done her best to show us the mechanics and the engineering of how to engineer, of how to curate and nurture a relationship with God that is entirely yours and His, uniquely your own and His, that are not the same for anybody else. Your own relationship. And if you don't walk away from here with anything, I want you to remember that you and God are a pair. You are a team like no other team that exists on the face of the earth. That's why Prof is saying that Adese's relationship with God is different. Now, because of Adese's brother must forge his own relationship with God. God will come to him through the route of medicine. But by the time he's done, he too will know God for himself. Everybody is taking their part in this thing. You know, John C. Maxwell, in one of his books, he talked about the dots connecting the dots. That's the title of the book. And he said that the dots would connect. Even in God, that's a principle in God. He can take one thing and use that particular situation to bet many things on different levels for everyone who is connected. And so we should stop living our lives in silos. You know, it's just, you know, me and my husband, me and my children. Who told you that? Because by the time this whole thing is woven, when you were talking about her being in a 3-bed flat by herself, I realized quickly that God wanted her to take authority of the place before other people would come.
That's it.
When she goes back in September, other people will come.
That's it. That was the rem I got as well. That's it.
Other people
We had
will
that
come.
conversation. That's it.
And so God is not like you and doesn't play catch up. But we are the ones that will give him it's not that he can't take it by force, but God is such a gentleman, he doesn't force us into anything. If you make room for him, he will walk with you and you will see the pattern. If you didn't take anything away from here, here's the point. Go back and listen to this all over and curate for yourself a relationship. Know that your relationship with God is unfolding and you're going to get it whether by hook or by crook. Know that when God is transforming you, you like transformation. You just like the process of transformation. Before you go from teacup to kettle, they will break you and then they will remold you. It will sometimes leave scars. No, sometimes it will leave a scarring. But those becomes your own stripes to be able to do the things that God has called you to do. I see a day when we're broken and remolded is no longer your call. It's Adese's call.
That's it.
You have your season in that place is coming to an end. You will move into a patron status so that this young lady can share some of the things you think you know that you don't know. Begins to talk, you will be like, I thought I knew this journey.
Yes.
But this is how God gets us there.
Yes.
We don't have more time. One last word, Prof, please. We have barely 30 seconds. Last word.
The last word I want to leave us here with is trust the process, but most especially trust God. Trust God. Allow him to lead you. allow him to lead you.
Hallelujah. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget that come next weekend, beginning from Thursday the 17th through to Saturday the 19th of July, the return of the Helper Prophetic Conference will be happening here in Lagos, Nigeria. Of course, if you're abroad, you can join us online, but in person would be first session on Thursday, 9 a.m. is in person at 114 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. And Saturday, the final day and a whole day of sessions is on at the Admiralty Conference Center, Naval Dockyard, Victoria Island, Lagos. Our color is mustard and our theme is illuminate. So please
Mhm.
plan to. Prof, I hope I'll see you. I'm looking forward to
And
hug you. After
I might not stay for that of Saturday, but I'm looking to come in for Thursday and the other one and then leave. Yeah.
right there. So, brethren, please join us. And a big fat thank you to Professor Joy for sharing her life with us so that we can learn. It's not every journey you have to go on. Sometimes you borrow things from these people. So, like we say in Nigeria, I hope we have borrowed you some sense today.
Yes.
And I hope you put that sense into use. Thank you for being
Thank you
the
so
naked
much.
and courageous. Tomorrow, no, next month is another month, and our guest, I think our guest is going to be Barrister Gozie Demezwe. God bless you. We look
Wow.
forward to our conversations. Yes. God bless you and bye bye.